Hi, thanks for watching us here at Tax Talk UK. We're going to talk about the construction industry scheme and specifically VAT and the domestic reverse charge. Before I get on to that, if I could just ask you to please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications. That way you'll easily be able to refer back to this information should you need to, as well as finding out other guidance and be notified of new content as we upload it. So if you've already watched the guidance on CIS generally, you'll remember that I mentioned that if you're VAT registered, then you needed to be aware of the domestic reverse charge that applies since the 1st of March 2021 for most supplies of building and construction services. So the VAT domestic reverse charge applies for those falling within the CIS remit for UK VAT registered businesses, and it applies to both standard rate and reduced rate services. So in simple terms, the domestic reverse charge for VAT applicable for CIS, it applies when there's a chain of suppliers. So for example, a contractor engaging another contractor, engaging another contractor, and in effect, the first subcontractor in the chain will charge VAT as normal, but then the reverse charge will apply for everyone within the chain until we get to the end user. So the end user will pay the VAT as normal, and the first subcontractor in the chain will charge the VAT as normal, but in the meantime, no VAT passes through the chain. So it's quite straightforward once you get your head around the difference from previously when you would receive your invoice and pay the VAT and then reclaim it, or if you're the subcontractor, charge your VAT and pay it to HMRC. So it's been in operation for a little while now, so hopefully if anyone is affected sort of cash flow wise by the changes, they will have all smoothed out and everyone's sort of got into the hang of it. So in terms of paperwork, obviously when you're raising your invoice, normally if you're a VAT registered business, then you would be charging VAT at the normal rate. So it's important that the correct wording is put on your invoice that actually explains that you are applying the domestic reverse charge, and so that that your contractor knows that that's what's happened, and then they can deal with that accordingly. And then if they're passing the service on again, they will do the same, as I mentioned earlier, until we get to the end user, and the end user just pays the VAT as would normally be the case. So you will also have things to do when you come to submit your VAT return. So again, as I talked about previously, you'd have paid the VAT to your subcontractor, for example, and reclaim that on your VAT return, but you haven't paid it, but because it's a reverse charge, in effect, it would go on your sales and your purchases. So therefore, offsetting it. So therefore, you're paying it to HMRC instead of your subcontractor and reclaiming it at the same time. So therefore, there's still a clear audit trail of the VAT going up the supply chain. It's just not physically passing hands. And from April 2022, all VAT registered businesses will be mandated to comply with Making Tax Digital. So the likelihood is that hopefully you're using some software to maintain your accounting records, that will enable you to submit your VAT return compliant with MTD. So all of the main software providers have it built into their software to be able to manage your reverse charge requirements as they arise, regardless of whether you're a contractor or a subcontractor. Your software will be able to sort that out for you. And in the description, I'm going to put put some links for you if you need to, for example, to see an example invoice of what wording that you would use, and also the guidance from some of the software providers if you need to know, for example, what VAT code to use, which is predominantly how it operates in the software, and how you tell your software that you're using the reverse charges by using a special VAT code. So when you must use the reverse charge is pretty much the same as when the CIS scheme comes into play, but I'm just going to duck over to the website and run through those for you. So these are all the scenarios when you must use the reverse charge for VAT. So constructing, altering, repairing, extending, demolishing or dismantling buildings or structures, whether they're permanent or temporary, including offshore installation services, constructing, altering, repairing, extending, demolishing of any works forming or planned to form part of the land, including in particular walls, roadworks, power lines, electronic communications equipment, aircraft, runways, railways, inland waterways, docks and harbours, pipelines, reservoirs, water mains, wells, sewers, industrial plants and installation for purposes of land drainage, coast protection or defence, installing heating, lighting, air conditioning, ventilation, power supply, drainage, sanitation, water supply or fire protection systems in any building or structure, internal cleaning of buildings and structures so far as carried out in the course of their construction, alteration, repair, extension or restoration, painting or decorating the inside or the external surfaces of any building or structure, services which form an integral part of or a part of the preparation or completion of the services described above, including site clearance, earth moving, excavation, tunnelling and boring, laying of foundations, erection of scaffolding, site restoration, landscaping, and the provision of roadways and other access works. So quite a detailed and comprehensive list, although not exhaustive. And I'm going to just briefly run through the duck back over to the site and show you the times when you must not use the reverse charge. So you don't use the reverse charge for the following services if they're supplied on their own. So if you're drilling for or extracting oil or natural gas, extracting minerals, using underground or surface working, and tunnelling, boring or construction of underground works for this purpose, manufacturing, building or engineer components or equipment, materials, plant or machinery or delivery of any of these to site, manufacturing components for heating, lighting, air conditioning, ventilation, power supply, drainage, sanitation, water supply or fire protection systems or delivery of any of these to site, the professional work of architects or surveyors or of building engineering, interior or exterior decoration and landscape consultants, making, installing and repairing artworks such as sculptures, murals and other items that are purely artistic, sign writing and erecting, installing and repairing signboards and advertisements, installing seating, blinds and shutters, installing security systems, including burglar alarms, closed circuit television and public address systems. So again, a comprehensive but not exhaustive list, and you will, for those that understand the CIS scheme, will quickly note that those are, they're very much mirror the circumstances. So if the CIS scheme must be applied, then and you're VAT registered, then it's fairly likely that you will need to operate the domestic reverse charge for VAT. Of course, as I always say, if you're not sure, you don't understand, then you should take professional help. If you're just, if you understand the scheme, you understand how the construction industry scheme works, and you understand the VAT domestic reverse charge, and you're just struggling to know whether something you do, perhaps it's something a little bit unusual, or you're doing one contract that's slightly different and you're not sure whether you should be operating it or not, then of course you've got the CIS helpline run by HMRC, and in the description I'm also going to put the link for the detailed guidance on gov.uk about the VAT domestic reverse charge. And as I talked about earlier, all VAT registered businesses are now mandated to for making tax digital. So the chances are that you will be using some kind of software, and I'll also pop the link to the guidance from the software providers as well, to help you to know how to actually operate that within your software. But of course, you can also look at under our Making Tax Digital page, we have guidance for QuickBooks, Sage Business Cloud, Free Agent and Xero, to help you if you actually need a demo or need to understand how to actually operate something in your software. So as always, it's just a really brief overview on today on the VAT domestic reverse charge for CIS. So I hope that's given you a good overview. And as I say, the links for any more detailed guidance on gov.uk will be in the description. Well, thank you very much for watching, and please do, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Goodbye.